You know who else could probably testify to the freak-offs with Diddy?
It wasn't a good relationship for me. It didn't have so much to do with him as it had to do with me at the time. I had to learn to care about myself a little bit more and put up certain boundaries of what I would accept and wouldn't.
What Lopez had to do was marry a white boy, Oscar winner, for people to stop remembering that she had a gun in her pocketbook. She had gunshot residue on her hands the night that Natanya was shot.
Jennifer Lopez is officially involved in Diddy's case proceedings not as a bystander, but as someone who allegedly helped Diddy run his entire operation from the inside. New nightclub footage has just resurfaced, and now J.Lo is being forced to testify in the ongoing RICO case that's already got half. The industry shook. It is not looking good for her at all, and this literally is different from her statement from back then. And remember when she was once asked why she broke up with Diddy, and she said it ended with a bang? Well, now we know the bang. She was referring to let's get right into it. As y'all already know by now, Diddy's trial is ongoing, with the star witness being Cassie Ventura, who has had to endure back-to-back testimonies that have already blown this case wide open. Cassie has laid it all out from to the money trails, and now J.Lo's name is coming up again, but not as a victim, as she's been claiming for years. According to reports and receipts coming out, Jennifer wasn't just in the room, she was in the mix. This shouldn't come as a surprise, because J.Lo's name has been floating real close to this storm, even though she hasn't publicly said much.
That bullet came from the gun that was in her hand, and not once has she spoken up for the betterment of that woman. Not once has she donated to her family or for her medical bills that she's still paying, or say something in her defense to stop Puffy from gaslighting her.
Remember Nada, yeah, the same woman from that 1999 club incident who miraculously survived a gunshot from Diddy, and also survived while all the other key witnesses and victims somehow ended up gone or silent. Well, this has been a known fact over time, but this time it has come from the horse's mouth that J.Lo was allegedly the one who carried the pew-pew into the club and handed it directly to Diddy. Yep, J.Lo. Not only that, but she also is the one who allegedly tossed the weapon once things went south. This means that J.Lo was right there when the cover-up happened. Law enforcement, witnesses, everybody reportedly got paid off, and she looked the other way. Not then, not when it came back up, and not even now. It's been nothing but crickets from her, but not for long, because that subpoena is going to hit her face so hard she wouldn't know what to do except to take the stand. So for her to suddenly step into victim mode, no, it's giving calculated silence, not survival. She's been holding her breath this whole time, hoping her name wouldn't come up, but with the feds stacking receipts and more unexpected names testifying by the day, Jennifer Lopez is about to raise her right hand and swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. But before we get into how J.Lo is implicated in all of these, let's talk about Cassie real quick, because the patterns are weirdly similar. Case in point, at one point in her testament, Cassie said that she was forced to hold Diddy's arm to enter a club, something fans remembered J.Lo doing constantly back in the day, and yet something J.Lo has never spoken against if she was really the victim, as she wants us to believe. See, the thing about Cassie is she's going to go down as one hell of a brave woman. She has come out clean in instances that might implicate her or make her look like Diddy's accomplice, but she's laid it all bare, including the circumstances that were at play that forced her to do the things that she did. Because we're not going to lie, when you're in that world, parties, labels, fashion, fame, it's easy to mistake toxic control for love or business. And that's what makes this next part sickening. On top of that, unlike J.Lo, who was never held captive, Cassie's deal with Diddy, and by extension Bad Boy Records, wasn't just music, it was control. Cassie didn't just date Diddy, she signed a 10-album contract with him, and guess how many actually came out? One, just one. Let that sink in. This wasn't a regular record deal, it was a leash. Nada, again, the survivor of the 1999 shooting connected to Diddy, has been kneed on Diddy's case for years, trying to get her own justice. She explained that in the industry, a deal like that with no intention to release music is a trap, almost like servitude. And when you think about it, it's giving modern-day slavery contract vibes. Like, how are you going to lock someone into a deal that basically guarantees that you own them, and then never let them move? Cassie was stuck. She couldn't leave, not without giving up everything, and not when he held all the power over her music, her money, and movement. This wasn't just a toxic romance, it was an abuse of power through business. And for the ones who keep asking why Cassie couldn't just up and leave, first of all, she did severally, and she was traced and beaten into discipline. Secondly, the abuse allegations go way deeper than we all thought. For those
Those who like to stupidly comment, well, why didn't she leave? She said she didn't have the resources and she didn't feel safe to do so. In her own words, I understood Sean's capabilities, his access to guns, and the threats that he made prior to that.
Cassie even shared that she knew how dangerous and unhinged Diddy was, how powerful he was, but even more important, the kind of weapons he kept, and how he could get away with anything. She had seen it happen one too many times. Diddy pulled guns on her and made threats to her family. And remember, the prosecutors finally showed the court everything they confiscated when Diddy's Miami home was raided, including guns, stilettos, toys, and more seen in shocking photos. So when Cassie says that she was afraid that he'd harm her if she left, that's not just fear. It's survival. Imagine being in a situation where leaving might get your mom hurt or your siblings. People always think it's so easy to walk away, but when you're dealing with someone with millions power and connections everywhere, leaving can feel impossible. And it's not just physical chains, it's emotional ones, psychological ones. That is Stockholm Syndrome in full effect. And let's not forget, Diddy ensured Cassie looked like she was living the dream, glam parties, red carpet. So who would have believed her? As it is, a lot of people still say that she's lying and that she was just a jilted lover going after Diddy's money. And they never changed their minds even after CNN leaked that infamous video of him hitting her. But the plot thickens, because this is where the RICO charges come in heavy, and also why Jlo is guilty as hell. You see, this case isn't just a Diddy was a bad boyfriend story. That's not why the feds are on his neck. This is about racketeering, and let me break it down for you real quick. RICO, Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, is used when someone's business or empire is just a front for organized crime. In this case, Diddy's empire includes fashion, liquor brands, music labels, but allegedly also manipulation, and more legal experts are saying that the feds don't even need to prove every little thing. All they got to show is that the criminal stuff happened under the umbrella of a real business. And y'all know Diddy's empire is massive, from Bad Boy Records, Calls Enterprises to Shah Jahan, and the list goes on. This man was moving millions, but if just one arm of that machine was doing illegal stuff, that's all it takes for the feds to hit with that RICO. He basically created the blueprint of a business that could hide the worst kind of behavior in plain sight. Here's the crazy part, believe it or not, Diddy's success might be the reason he gets taken down. When you build a huge empire and something shady happens inside of it, you can't just claim ignorance, not when you're the boss, the face, and the one calling the shots. And worst of all, in Diddy's case, when you've been allegedly actively engaging in those criminal activities yourself.
We've only had 1 week so far of testimony in P. Diddy's case, and I see a lot of comments online where people are jumping to conclusions that Diddy's going to be acquitted and the government isn't going to be able to prove their case. They're focusing too much on the DV. Where is the RICO? Hold on, you guys. Okay, this is expected to be a 6 to 8 week long trial.
And so even as the trial is ongoing, prosecutors won't have to work too hard proving the empire existed. That part is obvious. The real question is what kind of activities were going down within it, because once the criminal part is exposed, the rest of the empire becomes evidence. That's how RICO works. It's not just about the act, it's about the system that supported the act.
To prove RICO and racketeering, the government has to establish that there was a pattern, okay? So they're not just hanging their whole case on Cassie's experience and Cassie's testimony. No, there's definitely more to come. And the reason why I'm so sure that there's a lot more to come is when it comes to federal prosecution, the feds don't play. They don't charge unless they know they're going to get you. Pretty much guaranteed. I can't remember exactly what their conviction rate is, but it's super high. It's nearly 100%, because the government really, really will take its time to build an ironclad case against you.
Okay, so now back to Jlo. Let's be clear, she is not being charged with anything yet, but the associations are undeniable. If more victims or witnesses come forward saying she was present or played a role in enabling the behavior, even unknowingly, it could get real messy. That's why her name is floating around again. Was she just arm candy, or was she involved in a setup that was way darker than anyone knew? Remember, it's been long established that she indeed was the one who carried Diddy's pew-pew into the club on that fateful day. But what else does she know? And what else has she been covering, y'all? See where this is going.
Worried that maybe one day they would open the case and she still has the bullet fragments in her face, like J-Lo has said. Nothing. You really thought that just running off and marrying Ben Affleck was going to take you out of the Diddy downfall?
So as of now, the one big question that keeps coming up is, did Diddy's relationship with Cassie change the legal game? Can being her boss and partner at the same time make things worse for him? Dead ass yeah. It can, because what the court is discussing right now isn't about a relationship gone sour, but criminal coercion that means using power and fear to force someone into doing things that they don't want to do. Think about it. Cassie was under contract. She couldn't drop music unless she played by his rules, and those rules, they allegedly include sleeping with people that he picked, going where he said, and doing what he wanted. That's not a relationship. That's entrapment. You're not free when your whole life depends on the man controlling your bag and your body.
Diddy to not only beat her, but stomp her in the face while she was on the floor of the Escalade. When they got to the house, she jumped out of the car and tried to run across the street, but Diddy's security caught up to her and brought her into the house.
And it gets even creepier because, according to what's being said, there was a moment where he physically hurt her instead of facing her after he made her stay in a hotel, so he wouldn't have to look at what he did. That's chilling, and it shows that he knew. He was wrong. One of the more shocking parts about that, apparently, is that during one of those so-called encounters, Diddy pulled up wearing a bandana over his face Yankees cap, low, only his eyes, showing the guy who was brought in didn't even know who he was at first, but once he started talking and giving orders, the voice gave him away. Why hide your face if everything's legal? Because it wasn't. That's where prosecutors are going to dig deep, because sure, being into kinks isn't illegal, but once it's mixed with violence, threats, or coercion, that's felony territory. And no matter how rich you are or how many hits you got, the law don't play about that. The more the prosecution keeps providing evidence that Diddy ran an illegal entity, the more people are dragging J.Lo by the tips of her hairline. Cause why is she staying so quiet through all of this? If she was forced to carry that firearm into the club, she should have said that a long time ago. And maybe in her case, it would have been used to prove coercion. The reason this matters is because Cassie testified recently that this was a known thing that Diddy made women in his circle carry for him, because women usually weren't really searched as hard as men, and it's a calculated move. And if it's true, J.Lo wasn't just an innocent bystander, she was a co-conspirator. And it doesn't stop there. Remember when the shooting happened and the police chased their car, J.Lo allegedly tossed the weapon out the window, y'all. No regular people are doing time for way less serious crimes than that, but she walked away clean. That is not luck, that's privilege and influence, period. Again, more proof that J.Lo was an accomplice.
Had to be disturbed by a report in the New York paper yesterday.
Yeah.
It said an eyewitness along 8th Avenue as your car drove by saw a female hand throwing a gun out of the car.
Ridiculous. I don't even
You're the
want to
only
address
female
it.
in the car. You don't want to talk about
Ridiculous.
it? You very confident that Puffy will be found innocent in this
Yes.
trial?
Yes, I will.
You're going to testify?
If they need me.
But you haven't been
No,
asked
I
yet.
haven't been asked yet. So.
But back to Diddy, because now people are remembering how during that same 1999 case, the witness list was handed over to Diddy's defense team too early, and allegedly Diddy's team paid people off witnesses, suddenly forgot everything, memory loss. All over the place the system was played from inside out, and if the feds think that that kind of tampering is happening again, you better bet they're going to be way more protective with this current investigation. And they have done just that, because up until now, no one has the whole witness list. Diddy's defense team are caught off guard on a daily basis when a new face they weren't expecting takes the stand. All goes to prove the kind of influence Diddy had in the alleged criminal front that he ran that now has him answering to Rico.
So what the government is saying is that he didn't just commit crimes, he ran an entire enterprise that committed crimes. Bad Boy Records, for instance. And to prove that, the prosecutors have to show that there was a criminal enterprise, that crimes like trafficking, coercion, or money laundering happen regularly, trying to blow up cars, right? And that Puffy didn't just help direct them, but he also may have benefited from them.
What started off feeling like separate moments in his chaotic history is now giving full-blown organized operation. According to legal experts and survivors who have spoken out, there is a bigger picture that's being ignored, and it all seems to orbit around Diddy. Cassie even said Diddy would plan the FO sessions very meticulously with camera, stage directions, costumes, like you'd think it was a music video shoot. Cassie was even coached on what to say, so this whole thing is giving structure, it's giving pattern. And that's why every single witness, or rather Diddy's victim that has spoken up even long before the trial, they all have a similar recount of how Diddy ran his clandestine business. Same script. People just want to know if J.Lo also witnessed things, or rather if she experienced any of the things Cassie and the rest underwent. There's this resurfaced clip of J.Lo being interviewed back in the day, and the interview asks her why she and Diddy broke up. J.Lo looks around, pauses dramatically, and then says, "Our relationship ended with a bang." Excuse me a bang, what kind of bang girl gunfire chaos, some explosive event. Now connect that to the infamous nightclub shooting incident involving Diddy. That situation was literal chaos. Is that what she was hinting at? Because if so, it could actually be useful in painting a full picture of what went down and how deep this rabbit hole goes. And remember, Kate Moss was brought into the Johnny Depp trial literally within 24 hours of her name being dropped. So it's not unheard of for a last-minute witness like Glo to hit the stand, even if it's just to clarify. But if we're going to keep this real, she isn't likely to do it. But if she does take the stand, the internet will literally melt. As of now, Glo's silence speaks volumes. Her silence feels too curated, too intentional, and people are starting to pick up on it, like if you knew someone during their rise were in the drama. And there's even documented footage that makes people pause and squint. Say something even if it's just to clear your name right now. It's more like she's protecting the brand, not telling the truth. And in a moment where more and more women are standing up and telling their truth, Glo's silence feels not just safe, but suspicious.